Been going back and forth in my mind to whether or not to make this video and talk about how I ruined my life, how I destroyed everything, and or just to move on. And I think I need to talk about it and not without making it too much about myself. As this fog is finally lifted, I can actually, I think, create a coherent thought. I'm still getting my mind right. It's almost all the way back, but I realize after the last year I've been doing research online, trying to figure out what happened to me, and I've kind of deduced it to it was a range. It was a downward spiral that led ultimately to, I believe, depressive psychosis, in which I was eventually in the psych ward for, and then another rehab after that, and then 5 months of white knuckling it. The last 5 months, just panic attacks every day, crying every day, suicidal every single day, barely hanging on. Luckily, a few people have been in my life that have absolutely saved my life, but I'm not a victim. I did this to myself. Although during psychosis, if you know anything about it, it's anything that happens to you is extremely. I was beyond like reproach. I needed help. I could not handle my own reality. And when a series of traumatic things happen during that time, it only exacerbates the issue. I couldn't handle life. I lost my fucking mind, and I guess I can back up to how that happened. And again, I've learned a lot. And this is, I'm gonna be as transparent as I can without oversharing, and just hopefully there's a message in here somewhere that is helpful. That again, I don't want it to be a poo-poo poor me story or blaming anyone. This is all my fault, and it, what happened. Everything happens for a reason. I can see now. I this needed to happen. My entire life have been self-destructive. I have hated myself. I have never. It's as I've aged and gotten older, I've pushed back doing the work and understanding where the self-hatred and the low self-esteem and the some trait narcissism came from, and I've done the work now, and this needed to happen. And I had a delusion my whole life of wanting to having entitlement and wanting to live on like the Arcade Fire song. Come on, baby, in our dreams we can live on misbehavior, and I thought I was so special that I could not only I deserved all this good stuff in my life, but I could make a living at it. And obviously there's levels of where health and unhealthy, unhealthy, you know, misbehavior, making a living doing that, and I guess it ended up I saw that as just being a hedonist, and it was anything I say here, like, don't please don't conflate it with like any kind of bragging or anything that I'm just gonna say, or because it ruined my life. But I got everything I wanted and then some, and it was not worth it. I think lessons are difficult, but some lessons aren't worth learning, aren't worth it. And I think I've conflated self destruction with with restarting and growing stronger. And as I did that through my life, I realized I was gaining more character, but to the detriment of my own soul. I have lost a lot of my soul, a lot of my heart, a lot of my goodwill, a lot of my good nature, and I want to rebuild it the rest of my life. I want to do that. And yeah, so back to the, I guess, I mean, where to start? I guess I can start in 2023, where the collapse started. Beginning of 2023, as the hedonistic lifestyle started to fizzle out, and I was losing partners. Where me and my ex were off to the races, the freaking three ways, four ways, doing crazy sex scenes, drugs, filming it, putting it online, like all this crap. Just what more can we do? Can we just dopamine junkies? Obviously, for our own reasons, it's not a healthy thing. At the end of the day, there's kink, there's whatever gets your rocks off, and then there's actual pathology and darkness. And when you aren't taught boundaries ever in your whole life, and both parties don't understand what that means, having boundaries, it can get completely insane. And then that can be fun. It's just, you'd be like, look how crazy we are. Wrong feels right. And especially when you're, that's the only thing I've ever strived for my whole life. So it's an identity crisis to realize that that's unsustainable and dark and bad and unhealthy and not worth it. Yeah, so, but yeah, I was working at a warehouse. Been taking Adderall for about 10 years before this, and it enabled me to get a lot of stuff done that I otherwise wouldn't be able to do. And been diagnosed with ADHD since I was 12 or whatever, and definitely have it. And but I started abusing it, and all throughout COVID. But for the sake of just talking about 2023 now and the fallout, I was taking a lot of it. I was working in a warehouse with my ex, so it was her and I together on the same assembly line. And not a job for me. I researched it later. ADHD, it's not. It is actually hell. And it was hell. And I was so stubborn, and the benefits are good and everything. And I had a tooth infected 6 months prior, and I realized that was actually, it was infected, and it was a root canal, and so I couldn't feel it, but I was drained every day. So I was taking Adderall, actually semi-abusing it. I think I'm more or less abusing it up to 6 months before that, consistently, because I couldn't get out of bed without it. So I'm starting to kind of, I'm abusive towards my ex. I'm impatient. I'm mean. I'm irritable. At times I'm loving, but ultimately just trying to get stuff done. Like there's no time. We got to do everything now, and that's Adderall for you. And eventually, kind of, I lost my sense of self. I lost a lot of my soul, and coming back to working at the warehouse, I was working 10 to 12-hour shifts, 4 days a week. So effectively for 4 days a week, I was on speed, working my ass off, listening to self-improvement videos, doing push-ups, with this idea. I'd had a big fight with my mother a couple of years prior, about a year prior to that, 2 years prior to that. I hadn't talked to her since, and I had written down on the day, it was 2021, something that said, "Fuck family, don't stop until something breaks." And so I had that in the back of my mind of, I'll show them, fuck them, which has been my MO my entire life. It's dog eat dog in my family, and there's no empathy, there's no sympathy. So I I've always had something to prove, and nothing's good enough. So I always had in my mind, if I just make enough money, if I just do enough, if I'm perfect, then eventually someone will care. But I'll get to that later. But of course, I learned there's no winning, and so I'm working my ass off, and it's starting to weigh on me after 3 or 4 months there. So end of February started. So January, February, March, April, and by May, so basically 3 months, 4 days a week, nonstop work basically. Driving 30 minutes there, 30 minutes back. So 14 hours a day, 14 hours in a row. I'm killing it because I have to be good enough for this job. Maybe they'll promote me. Maybe so I'm working my ass off. They put me in the back of the line. They broke a record. I didn't realize it at the time because they don't tell you anything. They put me at the back of the line because I was so fast. I'm on Adderall, and they did 30 more units I think they've ever done, and they bought pizza for everyone. And meanwhile, I'm like, what? Just overdoing. I'm working so hard with the drill that I am getting carpal tunnel, and they tell them about that. They don't care. I was there. Two people died, and no one raised their hand. Like, what happened? No one wanted to know, and it was brutal. It was basically the movie The Machinist. I was that guy. I had completely. It was inside, and working from noon to 1 a.m. roughly, usually missing the entire sun. There's no sunlight, and just being in darkness and repetitive work. It was hell on earth for me. That's not what my brain works with. So Adderall was an absolute necessity, and I ended up losing it, and I had to take a leave of absence. And I've never had panic attacks in my entire life. I've had 2 panic attacks before that. It was Adderall and drinking a bunch of coffee and Red Bull, and very minor, very short-lived, but this was different. This is about a year of abusing Adderall now, and give or take 8 months maybe. But 3 months of consistent abuse. And on the weekends, it's hard for me to remember exactly, but I was not relaxed. I was still like, you're working a job that you hate, and you do not want to go back there, but you force yourself. And I used the drug to just white knuckle it. Anyway, I took a leave of absence. They couldn't tell me if I'd have a job back. It was to be able to relax, and all they made me do was call in every day, and I had to email every day. I had to call and email every day, and I went to my doctor, and in hindsight, I probably should have taken the meds. They gave me antidepressants, but I didn't take them because I did my research on antidepressants. I never wanted to take them. I definitely should have. In hindsight, it was a mistake. I continued to take Adderall, not knowing that was the issue. Because when you're delusional, and I'm starting to lose myself here. They diagnosed me with extreme anxiety and insomnia, and they gave me like a month and a half roughly. First 2 weeks, then like a month and a half, and so I think this is the beginning of the psychosis. I was still taking Adderall. I could not, from basically in the middle of like January, so February, March, is that whole month, it was slowly starting to affect me. So I would say by the end of the March, I'm deep into like I'm losing it, and I kept pushing, because then 3 months you get a bonus, and you get like, so I'm just like, and yeah, is the worst mistake of my entire life. If I was doing anything else, I could at least take breaks, I could eat better, but on assembly line for 11 hours, you're working. And I grew up in hospitality, and like, to a certain degree, people care about you. Nope, not there. The people die. They do not care, and no one's going to tell you to work less hard. And I got to prove everything. I got to prove everyone I'm the best. I got to be the best at this. And I destroyed my body. I had infections in my armpits from sweating so bad. Maybe I'll B-roll that in post-production or whatever. I have pictures of it. To the doctor about it. I was sweating so much on Adderall and working so fucking hard. And I yeah, so I saw a therapist for one day. They canceled my insurance the next day. So I couldn't see the therapist anymore, and I was up all night knowing because the doctor, I had a therapy in the morning, a doctor after that, and the doctor canceled the day before, and I'm like, I just need, I can't deal with the unknown. I'm losing it. I'm overworked. I'm so stressed out. I'm listening to finance podcasts. I'm redlining my brain. I'm trying to min-max my brain to prove my family wrong. And for whatever reason, I have all this to prove. I can't stop. I got to be the best. I got to do 100 million things. And so by the time I took that leave of absence, like everything hurt so much worse. I could not handle the unknown. I could not handle, you know, I'm alone. And I'm in a relationship where I'm the leader and I have to take care of things and I'm in charge and I needed help. At that moment, I needed help. I needed to go somewhere. I needed to go talk to I needed a break. I was doing housework. I always was doing projects. I never stopped. And I couldn't I never yeah, I it's hard for me to ask for help. It's hard for me to express my needs. In my family, that was never, I don't have to go into the whole thing, but it's usually never appreciated. There's no boundaries. If you put up a boundary, it's immediately crossed. How dare you? I didn't even understand how bad it was until I've had to do the work, um, and figure out the root. So I the doctor canceled on me, and I spent. She was the one who was going to. This is 2 weeks after I took a leave of absence, and this is where they're asking for paperwork from work, and the doctor is supposed to write and write down the update and see how I'm doing to see if I get more time. So I'm like, I need more time. It's only been 2 weeks. I need a break. I wanted 2 months, 3 months. I knew something snapped, and I think I looked into ASD. There's like ASD burnout, like Asperger, like burnout. And when you're doing a job you cannot handle, and then I've done it. I didn't realize what it was. That's another thing I learned. I've done that at multiple jobs where I just can't. It's not creative enough. It's not stimulating enough. It's not difficult enough. Whatever it is, if it's a menial task, it's actual torture to me. And I've had to just lay down for 3 months after jobs like that. And so when the doctor canceled, I stood up all night, uh, panicking that the therapist wouldn't be able to write down, my extension. And sure enough, that was the case. And so I was up all night, saw the therapist in the morning, and I, panicked over that. I was having panic attacks. Not even panic attacks yet. I'm having extreme anxiety that I've never had in my life. I needed a break. I need something to work. Nothing worked. Everything that could go wrong was going wrong. It's like that got canceled the absolute worst time, and like I needed to know that. And then I get home and I'm laying down on my bed, and the one time I'm not wearing my moccasin shoes, I go down there just, I needed water because I passed out when I got home, and I went to my fridge, and a giant bottle of Fireball lands on my toe and breaks my toe. And I'm just like, okay, God, thank you. I'll stop taking my life so seriously. I'm like, because I'm working so hard, I'm just like, I just fine. And so I'm bedridden for a week, and I can't move my foot. I can't walk for a week, and I'm just in bed. And so that puts a damper on relaxing, or doing anything for myself. And uh, I'm still calling them every day, and I'm just I haven't been able to relax. It's because I'm still taking Adderall, and I'm not getting any answers from work that I'm gonna have a job when I get back, or if they're gonna approve it. They never. Just constant unknowns, and so I'm still having anxiety. And by this time it's bleeding into my relationship, and I'm not able to, be there for my partner and be there for my girlfriend, and I needed to be someone there for me, and I just didn't have that, and I'm starting to see. I'm not even starting to see. I just needed help, and I can't ask for help, and I can't express boundaries correctly. Even if I could, I'm starting to lose it, and so anxious, and I so I was just trying to hang on and trying to relax the best I could, starting to get it back together, starting to relax, getting some vitamin D from the sun. My sanity's slowly coming back, and then I see that my girlfriend at the time is not happy with me, and I I know I'm losing her, and I'm trying my best. Again, I'm working so hard because I'm trying to earn love, because I can't just be given love. It's not possible. I have to earn it in my mind. The harder I work and the more I destroy my body, the more I'll show. Look how bad I'm hurting myself. That's love, right? That's sick, but that's how I felt at the time. And the day I made a decision that gonna I wasn't gonna propose to her that day, but I had definitely considered it, and I was going to ask a friend about how he did it with his girlfriend, and that same day she told me she's seen somebody, and I don't have anything. I know that I'm not there for her emotionally, and so I, in my mind, sacrifice my needs and my ego and say, I said, tread lightly, is what I said. And I know it's emotional. I know she still loves me. I know it's emotional based. I know it's, as long as there isn't a physical thing, I can live with that. And um yeah. Yeah, at this point, the doctor gives me. I forgot to mention, the doctor gave me until August 9th, for them to keep me out of work until August 9th, and the warehouse place only gave me until July 27th. Um, and on July 26th, well, so we had essentially semi broken up and moved to different parts of the house, if I can remember this correctly. And I live downstairs and she lives upstairs, and we're kind of separated but living together. And I know it's just, I'm giving her a break. She's seeing a guy, and with my blessing for the most part, just I said, don't tread lightly, nothing physical or whatever. And after meeting the guy, I knew there was nothing there. It was just, I realized later it was essentially trying to egg me on, but it's kind of using this guy. But yeah, so on the 26th, my girlfriend at the time, she is panicking. She comes downstairs and she's like, I'm in a lot of pain. And I say, boundaries, we're not together. Like, you have a boyfriend, guy, or whatever. Talk to him. Like, I'm doing my thing. And she would often come in my room and just bother me, and when I wanted space. And so I thought this was that same thing, and she started texting me like really panicked, and that's not like her, and I was worried. I went upstairs, and she's in extreme pain, and she's vomiting, and she's in visible agony, and she's not one to complain. So as far as her own pain. And so I called 911 because I'm freaking out. And as I'm doing it, I'd woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning that day. I'm working out. I'm trying to do me and get my mind right and, look for my own girlfriend and, whatever, and move on with my life too. And well, I guess that's not true. I was working out to better myself and to get my mind right. I was not looking for anybody. I had no. I've never had. I never had any. I was never looking, and anyway, back to the going upstairs to our bedroom where I previously had slept. I called 911 and she's in so much pain, and they're like, and I'm like, oh, I'll just drive her, and okay, and I end up driving her into the hospital, and then we literally had no idea what was going on, and the guy said, "You're pregnant," or she looked at me like I'm in trouble, and I'm thinking, the amount of drugs you've been doing and drinking you've been doing this whole time, that 2-week kid ain't gonna make it. Damn you, irresponsible girl. Hopefully this wakes you up. And they said, you gotta leave now, go to the Meriter Hospital across town. They're leaving now, they're gonna be in an ambulance, and you get there now, they're gonna beat you there. And I ended up leaving, and I followed the ambulance. I found the ambulance. This is like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. Mind you, my ex has to be at work 4 hours from this time at her new shift in the morning, and my shift, I have to go be back work in 2 days, and roughly 2 or 3 days, and follow the ambulance to the hospital. We get in there. I'm just like, oh, let's get this over with, and they say that she's 6 months pregnant, and I can't handle this. I can't handle anything else. I'm at my breaking point. I've been at my breaking point for 2 months now, or a month. 2 months at least. I have nothing. I need a break, and this is the worst timing to have to endure this. And I broke into a million pieces. I've never cried more in my entire life. I spent 30 minutes in a car crying. I couldn't stop. I am not on Adderall for the first time because it ran out. So I'm not able to numb. I'm not able to just do stuff. I had to feel everything. I've been up, and on top of that, been, have this insomnia and anxiety already, and I have nothing. I've been up for almost 24 hours now. I have absolutely nothing left. I haven't eaten, haven't slept, and they say you have to make a decision. It's too early, so we can try and keep her in there, 6-month-old daughter, or we can let pregnancy happen as it should, and she's just not going to make it. And I almost blocked that part out. I forgot about that part, but there was a decision that needed to be made, and I had absolute that. I forgot about that part. How can you ask me to make that decision right now? I couldn't make that decision if I had all the support in the world and family surrounding me, and a supportive partner, and time, and ultrasounds over the next couple of weeks, and nutrients, and anything besides sleep deprivation, hunger, anxiety, depression, and a partner who is seeing someone else. And you're telling me I have a daughter that is been ingesting cocaine and alcohol and caffeine pills, and there's no lump, just fighting for her life. And there's no way she's gonna be right if she stays in there. And I don't. I broke down. I called my roommate and I said I don't know what to do. I'm that's the first panic attack right there. I have no idea. I needed help. I needed someone to help. I needed help. I can't keep helping. I need help. I need someone to help. And I had no help. And I had to go back in there and I said I need to eat something. Like I'll wait until you deliver or whatever decision we make. But I have to eat something. I can't think about this. I had nothing left. I need to, if you want me to say anything, I need to eat. I need to nap. If I don't go now, I'm gonna crash the car. I can't. This is not what I signed up for. I don't have anything left. I can't handle this. I could not handle one more fucking thing. I couldn't handle my broken toe. I couldn't handle the unknown with my job. I couldn't handle life. I couldn't handle the unknowns with my family. I couldn't handle the unknowns with my finances. I had so many plates in the air. I could not handle this. I could not. There was nothing left. I could not handle it. I had to leave. I got food. I took a nap and I headed back there, and she had already given birth, and it was a birth, stillborn fucking baby, and I got to see her, and she was fucking perfect. And the amount of guilt and shame that I felt, and I still feel, after living like that, after living in it like a selfish piece of shit and trying to kill pain and just do that amount of sexual shit we were doing, like not knowing I had a baby girl in there and just doing depraved shit and before that depraved shit and abusing drugs and just dark shit. For what? Like, for what? My own pleasure? And to see that, like to see like pure potential, it's just like, yeah, I couldn't live with that. I couldn't live with it. I couldn't do it. And I shut down, and when I came home, I just cried every single day for what could have been. And not to mention I'm mentally ill at this point. I something snapped in me. I had psychosis. I couldn't handle it. And yeah. And I always try and find something to meaning, something to flip it, to move on. The tragedy, there's got to be a reason. There's got to be a way to flip this. And crying so much is like the endorphins without being on any substances, and I like felt like a person again. I wasn't hiding. This happened, and it was like almost like a tragedy that could be flipped into something, to a catalyst for change. And nothing, I would in my mind, I'm never gonna be that person again. I like whatever selfishness, whatever narcissism and hedonistic crap, it was gone. All I cared about now was was growing up and having a family. That's all I cared about. When I saw that, I didn't realize how much that's the that's how much I bet how I didn't realize how much I wanted to be a dad until I saw that. I want it more than anything in the world still. And I said to her, I said, you know, I think it goes without saying, like, well, I guess I can back up at, when I showed up, she already delivered. I got to see her in a little bit, but she still had her, like, whatever. She had complications. You couldn't get the, like, I suppose, sent out. There was like, just couldn't get it out, and it was taking hours to finally get that out and stuff, and there's blood everywhere and stuff. And I'd said to her, I was like, okay, it kind of goes without saying, you're gonna stop seeing that guy now. And of course, she says, and I'm like, we're gonna grow from this. We're gonna, like, if this doesn't wake you up to your immature ways, nothing will. And I'm awake. I'm still white knuckling it, but I know I'm not gonna. I don't know. I just wanted to be a dad after that, and then we get back home and stuff, and I'm just crying every day and feel really ashamed and guilty, and yeah, it's just the perfect storm. It couldn't have been worse timing. I could not handle it, and now I'm starting the blame game. I'm like, I'm working this hard. Why is no one else helping me? Why is no one else working with me? I feel like I have the weight of the world on my shoulders even now, and I didn't want this. And all I needed was a break, and it just kept going down from there. Like, I probably would have needed 6 months of just rehab and just relaxation after that. And her job was, because she didn't call in, I heard her upstairs on the phone with her job, and the HR woman was giving her the nth degree, the ninth degree, whatever you call it, fifth degree, whatever, like yelling at her, talking down to her. And I grabbed the phone and said, who is this? And who do you think you are, talking to my girlfriend like this? And blah, blah, blah. She didn't come in. I said, do you understand what happened? No. And I told her, and she didn't give a shit. And she says, let me talk to her again. I'm like, she'll be in when she can. We are experiencing, we are in the middle of a tragedy, and she'll come in when she can. And it's just from then on, I was just, that they wrote her up, and the day she had to go, I'm looking up lawyers at this point. After I talked to the union, and they didn't seem that, I realized there was an incestual relationship. They didn't care. They didn't want her to fight it. They didn't want her to. That was not a valid excuse, apparently. And out of principle, I'm like, you're not going to get written up. And I was proud of her. She fought it, and there was like a little kangaroo court. And the day she did that, it was apparently BS, and she had to do it alone, and it was some kind of kangaroo court thing. And that same day, I don't think she won or anything, but that same day she had to go in and get her checkup, and they said she has sepsis. And I'm panicking. Again, she doesn't acknowledge heavy issues because of her trauma and her way of coping, and I'm trying to help, and I think she's gonna die. And sepsis kills so many people, and she must, they're trying to pull that thing out. Like, they had dirty hands, and she got sepsis. And I had her friend. I said, "Can you get over there?" And I'm at the same time, I'm talking to like the union people, and I'm going off, and they're not. They never said I'm sorry, not once. They're just talking about themselves and how they had a girlfriend that did that. Like, did not say I'm so sorry. No one has said I'm sorry. Work doesn't care that I'm losing it. They don't care that we lost our kid. They don't care that she has sepsis. The union doesn't care that she has sepsis. So I'm talking to lawyers for 2 weeks, talking to lawyers about what we can do, how this is abusive. And she had to be back into work. And so she got a week off of work they gave her. I should back up a little bit. And then, that 2 weeks after that, she went in and she had sepsis. And I'm just thinking, these motherfuckers, like, give her some time. we need to mourn this. And I had already just not gone in. I had to go in. I was get this tooth fixed. If I went in one more day, my insurance would have reinstated and I could have got it fixed. And I could not bring myself to go back. I never went back. I couldn't handle my own reality. I was taking care of her, making sure she kept her job. I had a little bit of a nest egg, and I'm worried about her job. I'm worried about her. And um, I stayed in, after talking to lawyers. I I guess I found like I couldn't really get anywhere, and uh, I stayed inside for every single day. I never left the house. I didn't take Adderall after that. I just wanted to feel everything. In hindsight, I probably should have been drinking. I should have done something to numb the pain a little bit. I was a mess, feeling everything, but I wanted to. I wanted to burden myself, and I was hoping Bethany was going to wake up, console me. But I realized in hindsight she'd already made up her mind on the relationship. She was not. The worse I got, the more she was committed to not being with me. And I just needed help. I spent my 35th birthday in my bed. I don't think anyone cared. No one cared. I needed help. And and then yeah, so